Round 2 Wimbledon did not come down in the slightest. A French Open champion was on top of the world one week, then went out early on centre court the next. A legend that everyone had written off turned back the clock. The man who beat Rublev is somehow still alive after his third 5-setter in a row. And the round 3 matchups are already looking large and in charge. Let's start with the biggest one, because the Roland Garros champ just went out in the second round. Mirra Andreeva is 19 years old, and a month ago she was lifting the trophy in Paris, on top of the entire sport. This week, she was on the wrong end of experience. Barbora Krejcikova beat her 4-6, 7-5, 6-4. But this was no fluke. Krejcikova won Wimbledon back in 2024, but her body has betrayed her ever since. After dropping the first set, she was able to make the match ugly for Andreeva. But while Krejcikova was serving for the match at 5-3 in the third, Andreeva saved 6 match points. She clawed it back to 5-4, and for a second, it looked like she might regain control. But Krejcikova broke right back to seal the victory, and Andreeva was far from happy about it. Meanwhile, Novak Djokovic was also beating up on younger players. Everyone wanted to know if Tsitsipas could finally turn his year around. And we got that answer in about 98 minutes. Djokovic beat him 6-3, 6-4, 6-2, and it wasn't close at all. Djokovic won 46 of 52 points on his first serve. He hit 33 winners, and only 7 unforced errors. That was vintage Novak, and Tsitsipas never stood a chance. Sinner is also through to the third round. After a shaky opener, Sinner looked like he might have another one in his hands against Borges. He took the first set in a tight tiebreaker, then got broken early in the second. Borges served for the set, but when you're going up against a player like Sinner, that's rarely a sure thing. Sinner broke back, sealed the second, and then ran away with the match. But the best story from round 2 was from a man who almost beat Sinner last year. Ever since the injury in Wimbledon, Grigor Dimitrov has struggled to find form. He's been losing in the first round of challenges and hasn't been able to put together a string of victories. But this week, he beat the 15th seed, which is no easy feat. But this match could have gone either way. Mensik had 15 break points, but only converted 2. Dimitrov had 9, and he took 3. That was the entire match. If Mensik had one more big point, it could have gone the other way. And that's been the story this whole Wimbledon. And no man has embodied that more than Roman Safiullin. He's been playing 5-setters like his life depends on it. That's a 5-set qualifier just to get into the main draw, a 5-set war to take down Rublev, and now another 5-setter here in the second round. Nobody left in this draw has hit more tennis balls than Roman Safiullin, but his next round opponent has had a completely different tournament. Fonseca has looked very good through the first 2 rounds. He has yet to drop a set, and he scraped through without a scratch. The rest of the men's top seeds move forward. Felix Auger-Aliassime is sporting a completely new haircut. He's got the US Open Alcaraz going on, and just like Alcaraz, he wants to make a deep push. He had a tricky matchup against Prismic, but proved to be way too solid. The Hodar-Carina Busta match was full of drama. This had to be played over 2 days. The two met at the French Open, and Hodar came out in 5 sets. And this one was an exact same story. They met in the 5th set, and Hodar just proved way too solid. And the two Spaniards shared a frosty handshake. Berrettini came out against Fils, and this one was, in particular, a real good litmus test for both of them. Really didn't know how Berrettini was going to look after the Roland Garros exit, but also Fils missing some time off the tour, you never know how he's going to come back and perform against a player like Berrettini. But Berrettini looked way too good out there. This is a former Wimbledon finalist, and he proved that when he's healthy, he is extremely dangerous. And his next round match against Dimitrov could be one for the ages. Medvedev dropped the first set in his second round, but then won the next 3. Tien went out to Fucsovic, which is surprising, but not that surprising. What was surprising though is that he somehow ended up in hospital with like 30 double cheeseburgers from McDonald's after the match. He opted for a piece of bread, but I don't know what was in that piece of bread, but who knows. Tommy Paul is still showing that he is definitely one to go deep in this tournament. His game out there looks so damn well put together on grass, it is almost stupid. Brooksby ended Bouzer's run, and Zverev, Demonov, Fritz, Bublik, Kaboli, Tiafoe, Khachanov and Lehechka all went through pretty clean. On the women's tour, Sabalenka survived a bit of a scare. She won the first set comfortably, found herself behind in the second, was able to break back while Kessler was trying to serve for the set, took it to a tiebreaker, and she won that 11-9. Gauff also escaped her biggest fright in the second round. She was down 5-3 in the third set, was able to clinch it back to a tiebreak, then found herself 7-4 down in that tiebreak. But she locked in and reeled off 6 straight points to clinch the match. Maya joined after taking out Serena Williams in the first round, which is a big big match for anyone. Wouldn't exactly call it an upset, but regardless, a lot of eyeballs on that match. She then went up against another crowd favourite in Eala, and she came out and took the first set. But then Alexandra Eala locked in and took the second. And she was making things extremely uncomfortable out there for Maya Joy. And it worked so effectively that she was able to walk out of the second round with a bagel in the third set. Eala now reached the round of 32 at a major for the first time in her life. And her reward is the biggest match of her career. She takes on the defending champion. And Swiatek was flawless over Pliskova. Shnaider was the only women's seed to fall in round 2. Rybakina, Paolini, Kostya, Keys, and Navarro all advanced. And Osaka got through without a scratch. And she's inspired the tour to keep putting on a fashion show. Taylor Fritz came out looking like an 80s jazz dancer or something, I don't know. So there it is. A French Open champion is gone, Dimitrov back from the dead, an Iron Man who refuses to fall over, and the two old kings, Djokovic and Sinner, suddenly looking like the steadiest men in the entire building. Could this finally be the tournament where the young guns break through? Will Djokovic claim 25, or will Sinner do what he has done so often this year and race away with another trophy? We'll have to see, but the third round is already looking stacked. We have Swiatek against Eala, and this will be the one to watch. It's not going to be an easy match for Eala, but if she can get through this, holy moly, sky's the limit. Safiullin versus Fonseca. This is the battle of the opposites. Safiullin has just played, he's played 15 sets in the last 5 days, whereas Fonseca has only played 6. Dimitrov versus Berrettini, though, that is the one that has some star power potential. It's so good to see Dimitrov out there. He looked so happy after his win. It was a match that he very likely could have just lost. He finally got a big win that he's been fighting for the whole year since he got injured. So that is awesome to see. Berrettini, though, is just looking like a man on a mission. If he stays healthy, he could run into a lot of names that he probably won't have a problem with. I don't think there's going to be much of an issue. The only one really, I think, is Sinner. That is the one matchup that he will really struggle with. Djokovic versus Rindignesh. This is the giant server versus the giant killer. Djokovic has just done so well historically against these big serving, big hitting giants. Sabalenka versus Ostapenko. This is a massive hitting spectacle. Sabalenka is already trying to just beat people up out there. In the Sinner versus Brooksby, this could be a very junky game. I don't think Brooksby can really upset Sinner's momentum or rhythm here. Auger-Aliassime versus Michael Zing. This could be quite an interesting one. Auger-Aliassime is looking proper solid. He's shaved his head, he's gone monk mode, and he's ready to go. Hurkacz versus Tommy Paul definitely could have an absolute battle. If you just watch Tommy Paul play, he's so refreshing. He's serving, volleying, he's just constantly approaching the net. He's methodical out there. It looks like a guy playing chess. And Zverev, Lehechka, and Minaur all look poised to push through to the fourth. And that is the tournament up until now. We'll have to see what happens in the third round, but it has been a pretty good one so far. Amazing thing to see Dimitrov out there. The two biggest guys, the three biggest favorites are still out there. Sinner, Zverev, and Djokovic, which I think up until about this point, you couldn't have said at the French. So there's still some straightforwardness to this one. We'll have to see how round 3 plays out. There could definitely be some shaky things happening out there, so we'll see.